Hello guys, welcome to Online Web Tutor presented by Profotech Solutions team. I am Sanjay. We are learning CodeIgniter Framework Beginners tutorial and this is our part 7. Inside this video session guys, we are going to discuss about models. And also guys, if you are a beginner to this channel, then please don't forget to subscribe and keep watching our previous video sessions to get the clear concept about CodeIgniter Framework tutorial. So basically guys, so far we have seen about the controllers and the views files. Also in the last video session we had seen about how can we pass parameters from controllers to view files. So what basically models are? Models are basically the class files which is used to interact with the database, as in the first part we had discussed about the MVC pattern of CodeIgniter, in which M stands for models. So how can we create these models file, and also to interact with our database if you want to supply any type of data to our view file, so we can just make query to our models file and get the data from database and render it to view files. So let's get started about the class files of models first. So back to editor. Now how can we create our models? So inside our application folder structure we have a folder called models. Inside this models folder we are going to create the model files. So let's say that if I scroll here, if I open that, firstly it actually contains a single file called index.html. So I'm going to create a PHP file and something PHP file, let's say that site underscore model.php. There is no naming convention for creating any models in CodeIgniter framework. You can create any name if you want to give your model name, but according to my views guys, just put the name of the controller. Suppose I'm going to create the model for my controller called site. So site underscore model. First letter should be capital and all the letters should be in small case. So if I back to slides, open a new tab, and let's say that if suppose our controller name is suppose admin, so how can we create our name to our model name? So according to my views, the model name is something admin. This is the first letter should be capital and the rest letter something called admin model. This is controller name and this is the model name. But according to CodeIgniter, there is no naming convention for this model. Either you can use any name, suppose admin or admin only. Back to editor. Now inside this editor, this is our file that we have made. So how can we define our model? So if I go ahead to our controller file, so let me open our site controller, and the first line I'm going to attach, this is the line. Why I'm attaching? Because this line actually basically not accessible from the outside of this class file. Basically suppose we are going to open directly this file to our browser, so this file should not be accessible while adding this. It will firstly find base path. If it does not exist, if it is not defined, then this message actually we will get. So now we are going to define our model. So class, this is our site model, extends. So to use the features of CI CodeIgniter, we are going to extend a class to our site model, something called CI, and this is our model. Now this is the class file that we need to extend from the CodeIgniter so that we can use all the features of database to our class file called site underscore model. This is basically not for the model files. If you go to controller, also you can see that inside this controller we have extended our CI underscore controller class. This is because if suppose we want to use all the features of CodeIgniter, so by using this controller we actually access all the features of that application. So just go inside site model. Now I'm going to create some of the methods. Right now I'm not going to write any queries of database. Database we will actually study later on. So I'm going to write a simple function, let's say function, and run my query. Inside this function I'm going to write only a single statement, so let's say return. This is message from model file. So if I save this file, back to our controller. Now we have prepared our model, we have prepared our methods. So how can we call this model inside this controller file? So we have basically two ways to load our model inside controller. The first way is either, suppose I'm going to make a constructor inside the CI controller, and inside this controller I'm going to write public function, and as we know that for define a we need to use the PHP function for the constructor. This is a magic function of PHP. So inside this constructor function, I'm going to load our model what we have created here. So how can we load that? So the syntax is this, load, and here we have to write model. Inside this model, we have to pass the model name. So what is the model name? Site underscore model. This is the syntax that we have to follow. So if we back to slides, we have created our model. This is the model suppose we have created. So inside controller, let's say inside controller, we have made our constructor function. So let's say constructor. Inside constructor function, we have make use of, let's say this, load, and here is model. Inside this model, we have to pass the model name. Back to editor. So successfully we have loaded our site model from here. Now we are going to call this method inside a controller. So back here, let's say that site model, and if I back to our index method, and let's say that I'm going to call here, so this. Now after this, we are going to use called site model. Remember, this is our model name. So after loading this site model inside constructor, we are going to access the method inside site model. So site model, and this is the method name, something called run my query. So copy and pasting it here. So successfully we have called our run my query method from site model to our controller. So if I write echo, save this file, back to our browser, reload this page, and now as we can see that this is message from model file. So back to editor. Now let's say that this is a simple message from model. So if I get rid of that, and let's say that this is message and the model is something like that, and I'm going to pass this message here. So let's say message, and this is the message. After putting here, I'm going to open our site content. So go inside views folder, inside this views folder, site, and we have made something called, so if I open homepage.php, now inside that we have called home content. So open home content, and now let's say that within h4 tag, here is our message, and this is message from the model. So echo and message. So save this file, back here, reload this page, and this is the message from model file. So basically we are not going to use only for the message purpose. This is for the understanding. In our upcoming videos, we will see that how can we make our methods. Those methods basically interact with our database, so that we will run our query to insert data, to update data, as well as to delete data. This is video session about how can we create models, how can we create methods, and also how can we load these models to our controller file. So far we have seen about the first way, that how can we load our model method inside controller. Now next we are going to see that how can we actually load model in the alternative way. So this was our first way. In the second way, we are going to use our autoload class. It means that if we go inside config folder, inside config folder we have a file called autoload.php. Inside this file basically means that if we supply any library name, helper name, model name, and several names, then it automatically loads while running our application. It means that no need to actually manually load this site model inside constructor function. Autoload basically loads automatically. So back to autoload.php file, scroll here. So inside this file, as we can find that here we have a library, several keys we have. So libraries, drivers, helpers, config, and also we can find a model here. So inside this model, we are going to pass our site model inside this array, so that we are going to access directly inside this controller. So I'm going to pass, let's say, site underscore model. So after writing inside this autoload.php, going to controller, and I'm going to comment this line. Now after commenting that, it will load automatically inside application autoload.php, and finally we can access this model inside our site controller. So back here, reload this page, and now as we can see that we have same output what we have seen so far. So basically guys, inside this video session we had seen that how can we create model file, how can we load inside controller. Also we had seen that there are two ways to load a model inside controller. Firstly, inside constructor function we can use the load method, as well as inside autoload.php we can load our models automatically. So if you have any query inside this video session guys, then please drop your comment. I will give my reply as soon as possible. So for this video session guys, thank you for watching. Have a great day.